Android 1.0. Released in 2008, Android 1.0 was the very first version of Google's mobile operating system. It debuted on the HTC Dream and introduced features that are still essential today, including the app marketplace, Gmail integration, Google Maps, and web browsing. Although the interface looks very basic by modern standards, it laid the foundation for everything that followed. Cupcake. Arriving in 2009, Cupcake was the first Android version to use a dessert-themed name. One of its biggest additions was the on-screen keyboard, allowing phones to move away from physical keyboards. It also introduced widgets and video recording, making Android devices more flexible and useful in everyday life. Donut. Donut expanded Android's capabilities with improved search features and support for different screen sizes and resolutions. This was an important step because smartphone manufacturers were beginning to release a wider variety of devices, and Android needed to adapt to them. Eclair. Eclair refined the Android experience with a faster browser, improved Google Maps navigation, and better camera features. It also introduced live wallpapers, which became a popular way for users to personalize their phones. Froyo. Released in 2010, Froyo focused heavily on speed and performance. Applications launched faster, web browsing improved, and users gained the ability to turn their phones into Wi-Fi hotspots. These enhancements helped Android become more practical for everyday use. Gingerbread. Gingerbread brought a cleaner design and improved power management. It also enhanced gaming support and added new tools for developers. For several years, it became one of the most widely used Android versions around the world. Honeycomb. Unlike other Android releases, Honeycomb was designed specifically for tablets. It introduced a new interface optimized for larger screens and showcased Google's attempt to compete in the growing tablet market. While it was short-lived, many of its ideas influenced future versions. Ice Cream Sandwich. Released in 2011, Ice Cream Sandwich unified Android phones and tablets under a single platform. It introduced a more modern visual design, software navigation buttons, and face unlock. This version marked a significant shift toward a more polished Android experience. Jelly Bean. Jelly Bean focused on making Android smoother and more responsive. Through a project known as Project Butter, animations became much more fluid, and touch interactions felt faster. It also introduced Google Now, an early attempt at providing smart information before users even asked for it. KitKat. KitKat arrived in 2013 with a lighter and more efficient design. It was optimized to run on lower-end devices, allowing Android to reach a much larger audience. This helped expand Android's presence in developing markets across the world. Lollipop. Lollipop introduced material design, one of the biggest visual changes in Android history. The interface became brighter, more colorful, and more animated. Notifications were improved, battery-saving features were added, and Android gained a more modern appearance. Marshmallow. Released in 2015, Marshmallow focused on refining the experience rather than redesigning it. App permissions became more transparent, giving users greater control over privacy. The introduction of doze mode also helped improve battery life when phones were idle. Nougat. Nougat added split-screen multitasking, allowing two apps to run side by side. Notifications became more interactive, and overall performance continued to improve. These changes made Android devices more productive and efficient. Oreo. Oreo introduced picture-in-picture mode, allowing videos to continue playing while users worked in other apps. Startup times became faster, security was improved, and notification management became more organized. It represented another major step toward a mature smartphone operating system. Pi. Released in 2018, Pi brought artificial intelligence into the Android experience. Adaptive Battery learned user habits to save power, while gesture navigation reduced reliance on traditional buttons. Digital well-being tools were also introduced to help users manage screen time. Android 10. Android 10 marked the end of dessert names for public branding. It introduced a system-wide dark mode, improved privacy controls, and enhanced gesture navigation. The update reflected Google's growing focus on user security and customization. Android 11. Android 11 focused on communication and smart device control. Conversations were grouped in a dedicated section, chat bubbles became available, and built-in screen recording was added. The update also improved support for connected devices. Android 12. Android 12 delivered one of the largest visual redesigns Android had ever seen. Material You allowed interface colors to adapt automatically based on wallpaper choices. The result was a more personal and customizable user experience. Android 13. Android 13 refined many of Android 12's ideas while adding stronger privacy protections. Notification permissions became more controlled, language customization improved, and support for tablets and large-screen devices continued to grow. Android 14. Android 14 emphasized security, accessibility, and battery efficiency. It introduced improvements for larger displays, better health data integration, and stronger restrictions on older applications that could pose security risks. Android 15. Android 15 focused on smoother multitasking, better support for foldable devices, and additional AI-powered features. It continued Google's effort to make Android work seamlessly across different types of hardware. Android 16. Android 16 further improved performance, privacy, and intelligent features. As smartphones became more powerful, Android evolved to support increasingly advanced experiences while remaining familiar to users. Android 17. Android 17 represents the latest stage in Android's evolution. Building on nearly 2 decades of development, it continues to strengthen artificial intelligence, security, device connectivity, and personalization. What began as a simple mobile operating system has grown into a platform used by billions of people across the world.